You are listening to Scott H. Silverman's Happy Hour, a podcast released on the first 3 Wednesdays of the month. Family crisis, relationship crisis, addiction crisis, no two crisis situations are the same. They vary by family, individual, and relationship. They can encompass complex family dynamics, emotional distress, anger issues, and entitlements, and often involve substance abuse. This podcast addresses these issues and others surrounding the addiction epidemic currently plaguing this country and the world. There is hope and help.
Are you stuck, scared, or unsure of what to do next? If a situation with a loved one, spouse, or even a child has started to spiral, possibly becoming dangerous or threatening, it's time to seek help. My name is Scott H. Silverman. I help families navigate crisis situations. I'm the person you turn to in order to get you and your loved ones unstuck.
Welcome back to the show. This is Scott H. Silverman's Happy Hour, and I'm Michael Glenn Moore, Scott's co-host. Scott, today we've got some exciting news about your book. Why don't you go ahead and let everybody know what's happening?
Well, thanks, Michael. Hi, I'm Scott H. Silverman. Welcome to Happy Hour. But before I go, I'd like, we're running a little short on time already today, and we just started, but I would like everybody to take 30 seconds, close your eyes, and take a few deep breaths and think about yourself for a minute and what's going on right now in our country, and whatever you need to do in those 30 seconds to just empower yourself and power peace, love, and happiness in our communities and across our country. It's been a rough week. So 30 seconds, that's all I want. Thank you so much. Okay. So I was just told that last week, it'll help me be more peaceful and calm if I take 5 breaths before I do anything. I said, well, I'm ADHD, which means I'm basically pivoting every 3 to 4 minutes. If I have to take time to take deep breaths, I could actually waste an hour a day. And they said, no, that might be a good investment in peace and happiness and harmony and balance. I thought, wow, okay, thanks for the feedback. So anyway, I'd like to, if you haven't had a chance, I've kind of got my camera adjusted here. The opioid epidemic, I'm so excited. It just got on Amazon. We're in the 2nd week of April right now, and the pre-order starts. Hard copies will be available in May. And what I'd like to do is invite anybody who hears and sees this in the next couple of weeks to please go to my website, yourcrisiscoach.com, and just sign up there so I get your information, and then swing on over to Amazon and pre-order a book, whichever order you wish to do that. And if you do that, you have to sign up my website. What I'm going to do is offer you 10 minutes of free coaching. And if you're not happy with my coaching, what I will do is I will throw you over to Jaynee, our guest today, who I'm sure will clean up whatever mess I have made with your coaching. So that's the deal. Go to the website, yourcrisiscoach.com, go on Amazon, pre-order a book, please, and I'll offer you 10 free minutes of coaching. And if we decide that we're a good fit, you want to do some more, we'll grow into that as well. Well, today we have a special guest who, for lack of a better introduction, has refused to submit the questions we asked for, has been hesitant about submitting her bio and her resume. So clearly she's in a mode of resistance right now, which is great because that's where we like our guests, where they're sitting on the top of the telephone pole with bare feet and a 40-knot wind, hoping that no bird flies by and knocks them over. Anyway, Jaynee Poulson is a lady who, well, she's a person, but she's a lady who has put most of her adult life out in front of herself in a way to help others. She's got her own story about her journey. And I know she was most recently, was it Woman of the Year, Jaynee, in your community?
Yeah, Remarkable Woman of the Year for 2020. Yeah.
Well, Remarkable anything of the year is amazing. Remarkable Woman of the Year. And your city and state is?
Utah.
Got it. Mm-hmm. So Jaynee, and I'm going to say a few more things, see if I can embarrass her and get her to her facial color to be the same color as her lipstick, or at least those books on the top shelf, because I know she loves to color code her books. But Jaynee sacrifices a lot of her time and talent for others. She's a mom, and she spends a ton of time working with others. So she's going to tell us about that. But and Jaynee and I met a couple of years ago, and I like to think we hit it off, and we found that our people support piece, is really aligned. I call it being a hopeless helper. And I think she's a hopeless helper, and we'll do anything we can to help others. And now we're trying to find ways to formalize and work together, but she is so busy with her platform, and I'm going to let her tell you about that. But Jaynee, welcome to the happy hour. Thanks for being here today. And unfortunately, we had a cancellation yesterday, and I reached out to you, and you said, "Hey, no, I don't have time for this, but I'll do it for you anyway." But and we missed you last week, so we got a makeup one to do anyway. But I wanted Jaynee to tell you all about herself, what she's got going on. Then we'll talk a little about some of the projects that she's doing and how we are trying to figure out ways to not only save lives, but help create systemic change and reduce the stigma around accessing treatment, accessing, the options for people to get the support, mental health support, behavioral health support that God knows we certainly need more of today, because it's out there. There is hope and help. So Jaynee, the floor is all yours. How you doing today?
I'm well. I can't find a book to save my life, but they look good. So thanks for commenting on that, Scott. And hi, Michael. It's good to see you again. Thanks for having me.
Welcome back.
Thank you. So I have been working on Safe Projects Initiative. I'm the senior director of Safe Choices. So I work to have stigma, shame reduction in high schools, so that kids that are struggling with the opioid epidemic, whether they have a family member or have lost someone, or they themselves are dealing with recovery, can, have support and, be able to talk about it. Also connect with, connection is the opposite of addiction, so that they can connect with other students and, stop the shame, the stigma, the judgment around substance use disorder. So that's one of the things I'm working on, a full curriculum so that students can work on things within the school system and also outside of school with their family, community, and do service so that they can really engage with something to make them feel great about themselves, besides stimulants and things that we know are harmful, but things that are hopeful. So that's what I do. One of the things that I do. And then I myself believe so much in service. I'm still serving in the prison system. It's been 4 years now, and just working on transitions for women coming out of the detention centers and the secure lockdown facilities for youth. And I love that work. I need to stop soon. I need to kind of transition myself out of that, but it's just so rewarding and fulfilling, and I get so much out of it myself. I feel selfish doing it. Like it means a lot to me, and it's been an incredible journey for the last 4 years to be a part of. So that's something that I work on. And
Jaynee, let me interrupt you real quick. Would you mind just sharing, because you mentioned the Safe Project, there may be a lot of people that don't, I'm sure everyone knows about it. I mean, if you're on social media, but it's a relatively, young organization run by a special family. But if you don't mind, just share a little bit about that organization, because I think the work that they're doing, they've got a lot of trajectory right now, and it seems like they're well supported, which is going to be on a national level, which is going to be great, because it's going to bring resources and awareness to a lot of the country as well. I don't know what their budget is and what you have going, but just share with people, if you know the mission, great. If you don't, just kind of give us your version of it and what Safe Project does.
Well, the mission, I of course know, it's to save a life every day. I mean, literally that's what their goal is, so that no family goes through what the Linnowfields went through. They had a son, his 6th day in college, overdose, and he had been through treatment. He was in recovery and going through an EMT program, and at a university, he was in the university and overdosed and had um, it was just tragic. And they started Safe Project to help other family members. So we have, a treatment locator. We work with veterans. We're working within the school system is what I do. There's community solutions where you can look up, and work on task force within your community. They really are just trying to do everything that they can so that other people that like them can get the resources that they themselves struggle to find. So it's Admiral Sandy Winfield. He's a 4-star admiral who had every resource available, but wasn't able to help and save his own child, and needed, everyone should be on that team. And that's what we're trying to create, is a team that every person is on, that there's so many, it's multifaceted. We need everybody to be involved. Addiction's the great equalizer. There's no status within that. Everybody needs to come together and help each other so that we can heal our country. So
thank you.
Yeah.
So please continue with your list. Now you're currently working about a 47-hour day, right? Is that about right, with the family and all your responsibilities? And you have a 14-day week. So tell us more. What else goes on throughout your day that you're involved with?
Well, I consult with other organizations. I speak at conferences, and the Remarkable Women, I love being a part of that, because there's one in every state. And then there was one this year as well, 2021. And it's just women that are, doing incredible things for their community, for their families, service, and mostly for other women, just to empower, lift, and build each other. And I love that. So I'm really trying to connect with them. And we're organizing a trip to New York where we're all meeting, we're trying to get the women from all over the country to meet together. And I've been connecting with the people I know within our resources to come and present to us while we're there. So I'm really excited about that, so that we can make it a learning experience as well. We're going on a tour of New York. We have these activities planned, but I'm like, we're all together. Like, why don't we actually have an opportunity to take a few hours and learn too about how we could be resources within our community and have additional time to kind of get the things that we need to be even better, because we all have a platform and we need to share. So that's
great. So tell us about your family, if you don't mind, because I know we talked to each other earlier. Oh, I've got to drop off. I'm going to McDonald's, or we're sneaking in a Happy Meal, but tell us a little bit about the personal side of you, because I know you have a full-time gig with that as well. And that's, you do a lot, and it's amazing. And I think it's important to let people know that, when you're willing to do what it takes, there's nothing you can't do to get it done.
I appreciate that. I often say, like, that no matter what success that I have in all these other roles, that, if I fail as a wife and a mother, then all those other things aren't really going to matter how successful I've been, because that is, what I do and who I am. And I have a husband that I just adore. And we have 6 children together, and it's a full house. It's crazy, but it's fun. And there's always something going on, good or bad. So that there's a lot. And so I really am running around all the time. Like, there's always something going on. And he comes from a really big family they're all 5 miles away. So there's always an activity or event or, something happening around here for sure.
Yeah. So what question have we not talked about or asked today that you would like me to ask you? Or if you could say to somebody, hey, I wish you'd ask me, what would that question look like? What would that feel like to you? What would that be?
Well, I think one of the things we're working on at Safe Project that I'm hoping, even for myself, it's been difficult, and I'm trying to, and it's even hard I'm setting myself up, but I think that shame and the shame, the stigma, the judgment, I worked as a producer of a television show on A&E a couple of years ago. And one of the things that I really tried to do when I was looking for stories and like talking about what we were putting on, I was always trying to find like this innovative, solution oriented. I'm so tired of seeing things on television of like, the mom in the back, the mom passed out in the front seat of a car and her kids in the back crying. And like, that's how they show people, instead of showing the mom in recovery that's, that's sacrificed and doing and healthy. And she went to this incredible program and she's living her life in recovery and what that looks like. That's not what we show. We show the shameful, the stigma, the things that make people cringe and judge people so that they don't get the help they need. And their families don't want to, they'd rather have a dead child than a child that has a problem with drugs and alcohol, and to own that. And, I guess that's the questions I have for you as well, because I've struggled with having people I know in my immediate life that so in denial that they are with somebody that is using, active use, abuse. And I'm sitting there going, I do this for a living. Like, this is so obvious to me, and like pointing it out and trying to be helpful. And they just 3-year relationship, destruction, just constant. And it's so, but the shame and the guilt and the judgment from the society makes it where they'd rather stay in that relationship than get them the help they need, because then people will know that you're in that relationship. You know what I mean? Like, it's just this cycle of like, we love someone to death instead of get the help.
It's interesting. I talk to a lot of, more and more businesses and law firms and first responders. And, we talk about, hey, look, there's a major issue here with up to 25 to 30% of your current staff and their families. How do we talk about getting some sort of support going? And the attitude is, if they raise their hand and say, hey, we need help, then there's an admission there's a problem, which creates some sort of deficiency and some sort of defect of character that, could be, people still think of it as a moral failing, which is kind of interesting. All right, last question from me, and then I'm going to turn you over to Michael if he's got one. If you had a magic wand and you, because you have walked many miles in many different people's shoes and their footprints. So what would you do with a magic wand? What would you tell people, in a sound bite? I don't mean to, make it brief, but I want to make it easy for people to think and remember when they hear and see you. What would that magic wand wish look like?
The magic wand wish for in which arena? Like,
you get to pick. It's your magic wand.
It's still the same as it's been before. It's gonna be the same. The equality, the isms to stop. Like, I'll always, that's my hope and prayer constantly. I think that there's just still so much division in our country and in our society where there's a lot of that root cause. That when we treat the symptoms instead of, the actual the cause of the disorders. And, so much of that disconnection is because people don't feel a part of things, and there's this trauma. And I just look at the things that are just happening in plain view that used to be, behind closed doors or secret. And now it's like, seems acceptable to treat people that way. And it's never acceptable to treat someone like they're less than or not worthy of. And it's not okay with me. It shouldn't be okay with anybody. Well, so I guess my magic wand would people
eradicate that kind of attitude and behavior and fear and stubbornness and ignorance. Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, I can remember, I don't know, maybe 15 years ago when I called the National Regional Homeless Task Force to End Homelessness. And I said, look, I'm speaking at this Rotary Club. What's new and different? They go, nothing. I said, it's been 10 years since we spoke. Well, there's nothing new. I said, well, well, what would you tell me? He says, well, homelessness has become part of the landscape. So to your point, I think what's happened is people just, they expect it to go on. They expect someone else to take care of it. And if anybody's watched the news in the last 3 or 4 weeks, it is just frightening. But anyway, we're going to go to Michael for a question. We're going to come back to me for a blatant plug for the book again. And then we're going to come to you. I want to say closing prayer, but I want to say the closing thought or emblematic piece that you have in your heart that you want to share with us. So Michael, any questions for Jaynee?
Yeah, I'm interested in your work with the women prison population. What does that look like? Do you go in and have like maybe a group therapy, or is it a classroom type of thing? And also, do you follow up on these women when they get out? If some of them are able to, work their way out of prison, do you follow up with them? Is that something that's a part of your program?
So I don't personally follow up with them because of, the boundaries with that, but the program itself does, it tracks them for 6 months after release. And then recidivism rates, they obviously continue to watch that for years with their probation and et cetera. But the program that I worked on, Real Transition, it's 6 months before they're released and then 6 months after. So setting up mentors, looking at their resume, budgets, trying to do everything before they get out instead of after, where they're out with, they used to get a trash bag with their possessions and like $45 in cash and a phone card. And, it's just as if they're just a target for a dealer, right? And they'd be dropped off at the 7-Eleven down the street. And now we're working on, let's go through these modules and help them with, finances, with health and nutrition, with relationships and codependency, and like go through all these things before they ever get out so that they have their AA sponsor set up. They know where they're going to live. They've got a budget, and I work on a full week schedule that they know exactly where they're going to be and what they're going to do before they ever leave. And so it's just, dress for success. There's a closet that they shop from, and they have, clothes and a suitcase when they leave, not a trash bag. So it's just, it's a very different way of approaching that transition of leaving, so that they are completely prepared for a life when they get out. So
now this is all the women are tied to addiction, or is it other things as well?
no, I work with the recovery program, but this is Real Transition. They could be in for, anything, as long as they're in a transition to be leaving within that 6 months, 6 months of transitioning out. And then they're working within the Real Transition 6 months after they're committed to continue working on that after, where they're, working with mentors. And it's, going to fitness, going to meetings, having religious journals, like it's very intensive. So it's a lot of commitment from them on their part, but well worth it. And it's been, and Scott has so much experience in this. Like I'm constantly talking to him because he's an expert and worked on this nationally. And for me, it was just trying to help create something, because I saw the transition. It was like 3 pages. And some of these girls, they don't have their birth certificate. I always say to people, imagine if you had a fire and lost everything. That's what it's like for them. They've got nothing, and they start over, and we're just dropping them off thinking that, okay, go be successful. And it's not okay. So instead it's like, building, let's get the birth certificate, license, diplomas, like job opportunities, like let's do all those things to set them up for success before they leave. So that's what it is. It's one of the things that I'm most excited about that I've worked on, because I can actually see the change in their lives and the way that things go for them compared to before. And I just am so grateful to have been a part of it.
Is that a program that's just in Utah, or is it nationwide?
There's other programs like it across the country, I'm sure. And again, Scott's an expert in this, but for the Real Transition is in Utah. It's in 4 prisons now. So, and there's a wait list to get in. Like it's going very well. So And it's in and out of the prison. So people can sign up that aren't in prison and still continue to go weekly. Like they're, Thursday nights at a local church, like they're actually doing it for other people that need just to get help transitioning. So yeah, hopefully.
I can remember years ago when they talked about, because reentry is what it's called, and pre-release training and then post-release. But somebody's, we talked about this for, brainstorming the studies, and we said the best prison reentry program, the planning starts at sentencing. So before you even go inside, that you've got, for example, your curriculum. And so in order to maintain the opportunity to be in that portal, there's certain conditions. So you incentivize somebody before they get too far into institutionalization and, get so deeply rooted in a new gang-oriented lifestyle to survive, even though they have to do that. But they know that there's the light at the end at the tunnel is not an oncoming train. So that concept, to your question, Michael, is not everywhere in the country. I mean, California never had it because they didn't like the fact that people would go out and stay out because it was good for the unions and it was good for employment. $8 billion in California, and the education budget was like $6 billion. So I didn't mean to interrupt, but I just think it's so important what you're doing. And it is kind of rare. Although the last 10 years, there's been a lot more thought about it, but most people don't know, how do you help somebody who's been incarcerated get a job? Well, it's just something that's happened to them. How do you help somebody who only has a GED? How about somebody who doesn't have a degree? It's not that complicated to help people. Little things make big differences. So Michael, if you don't mind, I'm going to push the book again, then we're going to come back to you, Jaynee, for a quote. So again, the book, The Opioid Epidemic, is on sale right now, pre-selling at Amazon.com. Go find it, please order, and then go onto my site, yourcrisiscoach.com, sign up, and once you do that, I'll get the email and you purchase the book. I'm happy to offer you 10 minutes of free coaching. And just a footnote, talking about how overdoses are going up. One of the quotes I have on the promotion I'm doing now is, the last 3 years it took me to write this book. And now I'm getting criticism from people. Why did it take you so long? I said, well, I have a small brain, or whatever's left is left. And I worked with others who were smarter than me, and they were busy. The 3 years it took to prepare this book and get it to the market, 250,000 people in this country have died of overdoses due to opioids. 250,000. And that's a conservative number. So think about that. Jaynee, what's your quote for us today?
So, my husband and I both have this in our office, like framed. The man in the arena is just the thing. I mean, I kind of try to live by. Every year I try to pick something big to do that scares me. That, 1 year it was a TED Talk, and then the next year it was going into the prisons, and then working on a curriculum for the, I pick something big and that I'm afraid to do, and challenge myself and go out and do it, because I always want to know that I'm growing and changing, and that I'm still fighting the good fight, and that I'm in the arena. So the man in the arena, that I don't have to read all of it, but the parts that, it's not the critic who counts, not the man who points out how the strong man stumbles, or where the doer of deeds could have done them better. The credit belongs to the man who is actually in the arena, whose face is marred with sweat and blood, who strives valiantly, who errs, who comes short again and again, because there is no effort without error and shortcoming, but who does actually strive to do the deeds, who knows great enthusiasms, the great devotion, who spends themselves in a worthy cause, who at the best knows in the end the triumph of high achievement, and who at the worst, if she fails, at least fails while daring greatly, so that her place shall never be with those cold and timid souls who neither know victory nor defeat. And for me, like, you don't get to sit in the cheap seats and point out, this is Brene Brown, like, point out what someone else is doing wrong. Like, I'm in the arena. I fail forward every day, but I'm actively doing things for a worthy cause. And I want other people to get out and try their very best to do their very best to help somebody that needs it. So, and that's my goal. That's my wish, my prayer every day, that I can be in the arena doing the good work. So that's my quote.